I'm selling my collection. My video game collection. I'm sorry for leaving you hanging. It's just, you gotta make good hooks on these things. So the time has come to offload one of my many, many collections, and the time has come to offload my video game collection. So the ones that I'm not using or that nobody's enjoying, it makes more sense for me to offload them to somebody that does enjoy them. That's kind of how I can tell my collector heart that it's okay to let these go. But I'm going to talk into the process of why now, why am I getting rid of a video game collection, why I amassed a video game collection, and what's going to happen to said video game collection. Yeah. That's kind of the video, so let's get into it. I think it's safe to say, for me personally, that video games were my first true collection. I loved video games. I would pore over Nintendo Powers, Game Pros, Game Informers, you name it. I would devour the information about video games. As a kid, I grew up with a Nintendo Entertainment System, and that quickly transformed into a Nintendo, a Game Boy, a Sega Genesis, a Nintendo 64, like the list goes on and on and on, and it really hit a crescendo around the PlayStation Portable era, which is typically not something you would hear about video game collectors, like jumping into the whole PlayStation Portable era. The specific reason for it was because when I was headed into college, the PSP was my foot in the door to the video game industry. There was a website blog that I would frequent that was looking for people writing about PlayStation Portable. So I got my start writing news articles for the PlayStation Portable, a system that a lot of people didn't take seriously at the time because the Nintendo DS was about to eat its lunch. Found out much later that the only reason I got the job that was all volunteer to write these news articles was because I was one of like 2 people that actually applied to it. It wasn't because of the quality of my writing samples. So I kind of defaulted my way into the video game industry, and I continued to build on that. So before long, I was writing previews, then I was doing reviews for the PSP, and then it came time for the PlayStation 3. So once the PlayStation 3 came out, then I took over reviews for all of the Sony-related products for the game blog. And then after a while managing all of the Sony-related stuff, then it became Microsoft, then Nintendo. So I was then in charge of the reviews for the entire site. Now, we were pulling pretty decent numbers, and this was the era before YouTube was popular, so a lot of it was text-based. The way that it used to work back then with all of the writing is like you would get access to the game as fast as humanly possible, you would play it as fast as humanly possible, and you would write your review as fast as humanly possible, because just kind of like now, like posting videos about something brand new that other people haven't posted about, the first one usually gets the most views. It's the one that gets linked to, referred to the most often. It was a game of speed, and I amassed a large video game collection because of it. PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo DS, PlayStation Portable, and like a little bit of the 3DS. Like, I have a funny story about the 3DS. So at the E3, Nintendo showed off the 3DS. Instead of having it glued to a kiosk like they would for the Nintendo DS kind of stuff, or just a controller to a cord on like a TV and a case and stuff like that, they had to come up with a different solution because the 3D was so, I don't know, like one-to-one with a person. Like, you had to like find the right depth for your own eyes. So the solution that they came up with was really strange. They had somebody, like a Nintendo employee, wearing a belt that had Nintendo 3DSs chained to them. There was like about 8 of them. And then like they would hand you one of their 3DSs from their belt, and they would be like, here, do you want to try it? Star Fox demo or something like that. It was cool, but like it was also really strange to be playing a game system that was literally locked to a person. E3 was wild. Anyway, and when I wasn't doing reviews on games and stuff like that, I was on the hunt for PlayStation 2 games, specifically to kind of round out. I was really into like a JRPG, a strategy JRPG, like Disgaea, Final Fantasy Tactics, things like that. Like, I was on a really big kick on those because I just kind of like the thoughtful chess maneuvers of those games. So I went on a whole hunt to like find a whole bunch of those games. And I did. I found a lot of them. I worked for a number of different studios once I transitioned to the development side of the video game industry. And once I kind of had enough of that roller coaster, then I just parted ways with video games, and it took a long time to enjoy them for the fun product that they are, because for the longest time I'd have a critical eye looking at these things. So that's why I have a video game collection, is because it was kind of a life goal fulfilled, and the way that I showed how I fulfilled that goal was by amassing a lot of video games and having a real depth in my collection. But once I was done with that, once I was able to kind of hang up my controller and just be at peace with not being in the video game industry anymore, it kind of sat in the back and collected dust. Now, there are still some games that I love, Mario's, your Halos, the Pokemons, like the big first-party titles. Like, those are ones that I still love. So I'm not getting rid of those. Those are the ones that I'm keeping. But everything else, like those strategy RPGs that I had so fervently tried to find, they just don't hold the same meaning to me anymore. So it's time for them to find a new home. So that's why I'm selling them. That's kind of the long and short of it, is just that I'm done with them and I don't play them. Nobody plays them. They're just sitting on a shelf collecting dust. I'm guessing somebody somewhere out there would love to be playing these games. Which I would love to say like I have the most well-adjusted view of selling my video game collection, but like I explained, like it was a monument to like the achievement, the personal goal that I had. So selling them off does sting still a little bit, but that's okay. I can't hang on to every single collection that I have, and I just need to let it go even if it just hurts a little bit. It's important for me to kind of understand, I guess, that even though I might feel mostly ready to get rid of the collection, there's still a little piece of me that wants to hang on. And I think just kind of going forward with it and just knowing that they're going to get into the hands of people that are going to want to actively play these games, and maybe they never had a chance to play them. So that's kind of what keeps me moving forward with this and just not fully pulling back and just being like, no, I don't want to do this. Because, you know, I feel like the time is right. Like, I mostly feel like the time is right. So what's going to happen to all these games? Am I going to individually list them, put them in big lots? Am I going to, you know, only set up shop at like a flea market or something? No, actually, I found somebody to take the bulk of the games that I want to get rid of. Somebody on Instagram, here on YouTube, by the name of Button Delight, they have a shop out in LA, and it seemed like a perfect fit for the types of games that I have. I will say the process so far has been extremely smooth, and the only really hang-up has been on my end, just trying to find all of the stuff and gather it and package it up. It's a little exciting, it's a little scary, it's a little sad all at the same time, selling off a collection, but that's kind of the process of it all. I'm guessing by the time this video gets released, the games will already be sent off, and they'll start to get processed and be put up for sale. So if you're looking for any of my collection, just be sure to check out Button Delight. But couldn't I have done this another way? Couldn't I have listed them individually? Yes. Could I have put them in like lots of 10 and sold them on eBay? Also, yes. Could I have set up a little store of my own and sold these? Yes as well. The problem is, like, I didn't want to spend the time doing that. I've sold things on Facebook Marketplace and eBay in the past. That's kind of how I got started into Nerf collecting and toy collecting again. It is a time-consuming process, and spending the time chasing down individual people, printing off mailing addresses, and like doing all that kind of stuff takes time away from doing what I like to do, and that's creating videos that I like to put out in the world. And so right now my collection interests lie in toys, they lie in Nerf blasters, they lie in like other pop culture-y things. By working with somebody, it really helps simplify the process. It allowed me to funnel everything into one singular effort, and then from there he can do what he does best, and that is find the people who want to play these games. So I'm curious, have you ever sold a collection, or are you considering selling a collection? Let me know in the comment section, because it can be a big process, and depending on what type of collection you have, it might be more of an effort or less of an effort. Let me know what collection you've sold or looking to sell, because I think this is a thing that every collector faces at some point. You just can't keep it all, and I really don't want to get into a storage locker solution, because then at that point, like, I'm not even hanging on to the things. I can't even look at them unless I drive somewhere else and open a garage door and look at it. But yeah, that's it. I'm selling my video game collection, and maybe there's other people out there that can relate to it as well, and that's just kind of my process of going through it, why I had it, what I'm doing with it, and the whole process behind it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time with fewer video games. I think that's an okay thing.